Thanks, Ayman, for joining our initiative for Science in the Break and for ISB. We are really happy to have you as a very first guest. Our initiative, as you know, is related to promote biomechanical researcher, biomechanical work opportunity, especially for early career researchers. And we want to understand how this spotlight can increase collaboration and cooperation among different labs and different countries.
I felt that it was time to come back and to start something. It was a very nice experience because we started really from scratch, and then we've bought the equipment, we've installed the equipment, and then started recruiting the students, etc. It is important that these early career researchers group got created. It is important that the scientific societies start to collaborate together as well.
So Anya, you can start with the first question.
And what I wanted to ask first is, Ayman, can you tell us a little bit more about what your position, your role includes, and what your field of research is in Lebanon, in Beirut?
Yes, I'm the director and an associate professor. I'm the director of the lab, the lab of biomechanics and medical imaging, and an associate professor at the Faculty of Medicine at the University of St. Joseph in Beirut, Lebanon. This university is one of the first universities in Lebanon that was created in 1875 by the Jesuits in Lebanon.
So what I gather is that you not only teach, you also have a lot of students that you supervise, I guess, in your role as a professor, but also in the laboratory itself. Can you speak a little bit like how the lab environment is, how many students you have, how many postdocs, what the setup is like?
So at our lab, we have we have a lot of students with different backgrounds. So we have engineers, and we have also medical doctors, and we have also physical therapists. They usually enroll in the lab to do some training during their studies at the university. But most of them, they are doing the master program, and some of them the PhD program. So we started the lab in 2011, and we've started myself as an engineer with a PhD and a surgeon from the hospital university, who is an orthopedic surgeon, and my colleague also, who is a physical therapist. And we've thought that we've needed more researchers with us to work on several projects. So to recruit researchers, I've recruited them from my class at the university, at the Faculty of Medicine. So they are medical students who are at their medical studies. So before they got their MD diploma, I recruited them to come to the lab to do some training first, and then when they were acquainted with the lab and the methodology that we have and the equipment that we have, I convinced our university to enroll these students in the master program, so they can have a master degree in parallel with their medical studies. And then these students started doing their master degree and publishing with us at the lab. So they have more opportunities later on after their medical degree for better positions for residents, for example, or better positions for research all over the world to continue their studies.
Can you say a bit more about the clinical interest that you have in your lab?
So the topics that we work on in the lab are mainly in orthopedics. So the main topic is musculoskeletal modeling in 3D and subject-specific for several pathologies like cerebral palsy, children with cerebral palsy, adolescents idiopathic scoliosis, and adult spinal deformity. These are the main topics. We have also other topics on food biomechanics. We have topics on Down syndrome also. Patients who come to the university hospital, they are sent by their doctors to our lab to do their exams. So they do the gait exam and they do also the radiographic exam. We have an EOS system to do the X-rays, bicameral X-rays and 3D reconstruction of the skeleton. And we also have the 3D gait analysis where we do not only gait analysis, but also other movement.
I was just curious about medical imaging because you mentioned about EOS. Do you also work with, I'm working with ultrasonography. Do you also use that one or MRI for instance?
On the medical imaging part, it's true that we have only the EOS system for now in the lab. In the future, okay, we would like to have the ultrasonography in the lab, but we have also other medical images that are installed already in the university hospital with whom we collaborate. So we have some projects on MRI that we acquired at the hospital.
You did mention, I think, that, well, Lebanon has some troubles with instability and so on in our previous talk a little bit. So can you speak a little bit to how easy it is for you to attract resources such as students in terms of human resources, but as well as making sure that they're funded, that projects are still up and running, etc. Can you speak a little bit about your experience in that field?
We have a lot of opportunities to have our lab installed in 2011. We worked a lot to have our lab installed and equipped, and we started recruiting the students here in Lebanon. In Lebanon, the situation is not very stable, especially lately with the economic crisis that started in 2019. And then we have covered that spread all over the world, not only in Lebanon, but it was a layer in addition to our instability, the economical instability, the political instability, but also the security. Security-wise, we had the big explosion in Beirut in 2020. So all of this was very heavy on us. But in the same time, this did not stop us from working and from coming to the lab, and because these students they have to finish their curriculum. So they were interested to finish their curriculum and not having more delays. It was difficult also to keep the funding because of the economic problem. All the funding that we had from the university was reduced a lot. So we had to go and seek for external funding a lot to support the lab and to support the sustainability of the lab. So we are doing good for now. We are doing good for now, but we had to put a lot of more power than before on the sustainability and the fundraising of the lab. Yeah.
Talking about more collaboration, one part of that is that a lot of students go abroad for either a part of their degree or for the entire degree. And if I'm informed correctly, you did your PhD in Paris. Do you want to talk a little bit about your personal journey? What brought you to Paris? How did you get there? And then also maybe why did you choose to go back to Lebanon and not move either anywhere else or even stay in Paris?
I started as a biomedical engineer in biomedical engineering in Beirut, Lebanon, at the University of St. Joseph. And then I went to Paris for a training at the Institute of Biomechanique Georges Charpak at Paris Tech. And then I started learning about biomechanics, and I was very interested in biomechanics. And then I decided that after my engineering diploma, I'll go back to Paris and have a master's degree and a PhD, and this is what I did. So I continued with a master's degree, and then I finished my PhD in biomechanics in Paris. Then I did a short postdoc at NYU in New York with a team working on spine deformity, the team of Frank Schwab and Virginie Lafage, and then I got the opportunity to get acquainted with spine deformity. And then the plan was to go back to Lebanon and to to have our own lab in Lebanon. So that was the plan from the beginning, actually. And I was excited to go back to Lebanon and start something from zero, actually. So I still remember when the building here, the new campus, was under construction. So I was coming, meeting with the engineers and having the drawings of the lab and choosing where to put the X-ray, where to put the 3D gate analysis.
Yeah, I really like this, I mean, your journey in the sense that you brought back the expertise to your own country. Nowadays, how do you envision if you are an Ayman Assi in after the master degree, let's say, how do you think should be the best way to pursue an academic career? Do you still suggest to go abroad as a Lebanese, get more experience and go back?
Very nice question, Francisco. I think I would do the same. I would do the same track because I had the experience from Paris, the methodology, the basics, and then I had this experience in New York with the postdoc. And
Yes.
I felt that it was time to come back and to start something and to benefit my country and my university from what I've learned abroad. I think collaboration is very important. So even if I'm back to Lebanon and I'm working in my lab in Lebanon, etc., the international collaboration is very important because you will always learn from others through these collaborations. So collaborations between labs, and especially collaborations between when you are affiliated to societies and you go to conferences. So you learn a lot from other people, not only from strong collaboration between labs, but also when you go to conferences and you listen to experiences, to research.
I think we're slowly moving towards the final questions. So obviously, since this is a collaboration between ISB and Science on the Break, as the student rep of ISB currently, I do have a few questions about how do you think that biomechanics societies, in particular, of course, for me, the ISB is important, how would the societies could contribute or support any of those early career researchers?
So as you know, I'm the president of ESMAC, the European Society of Movement Analysis on Adults and Children, and I'm also an ambassador at Eurospine, the European Spine Society. And what I've learned from my experience through all the conferences, through all the societies where I am a member, and especially from Eurospine and ESMAC, that the most important thing is to listen to the members, what they need, and then try to cater to their needs. So for example, at ESMAC, we've started also a group of early career researchers. They are meeting and they are organizing their meeting. They are organizing their activities. This is very important because this is the most important objective of a scientific society.
I think that kind of blends into the next question I do have. So you kind of already answered that. So in terms of resources, is that something you were thinking of if you now think back of when you were in your PhD stages and about to go back to Lebanon? Can you think of any resources that could have been helpful at that time that societies could have offered to you?
It is important that these early career researchers group got created, so they can get in contact with more professional researchers from the society, from their members, and ask them about questions that are very important for them as young researchers that are starting a new career, that are finishing their PhD, etc. It is very important to have this collaboration between young and less young researchers, so they share experiences together.
If Francesco, if you don't have any more questions,
maybe I have something
please.
additional to add. So
Please.
It is important that the scientific societies start collaborate together as well. because I can see that there's a lot of scientific societies, each one working on a topic. And now with the advance in medicine and in science, we see a lot of intersectionality in science. So, for example, now we are organizing a gait analysis work seminar during the Eurospine conference.
I think, Ayman, you really hit the goal for our platform and also for the idea to this initiative to try to promote collaboration between, I mean, researcher, but like you said, break the walls also among societies.
I think that's the perfect conclusion to it. I think that
and
was...
I have another one. I have another
perfect.
one also. An additional one, actually.
Yes.
I think that scientific societies should work more on human rights because we as researchers and scientific people, we do not work only on promoting science and access to science and access to health for patients and for everyone, but we should also work on the access and promoting human rights to through our societies, human rights, women's rights, gender equality, also refugees and all minorities.
I think you can't stress that enough in nowadays times. Like, this is something that is crucial in any part of our lives, and I think especially in biomechanics, we need all of the humanitarian values that we can get. Oh, that's like,
good.
Yes.
Yes.